Yeah, and Wuxal, you're an international company?
Yeah, that's right. So we're an international company working on different continents, actually having business with more than 120 customers in 75 countries, the last business year, and trying to work with exclusive partners with our products, yeah.
Because we sort of know you in New Zealand, but we don't think about being totally international. There's a lot of countries.
You mean the countries that I'm responsible for? Or?
Well, the Wuxal company is responsible for all those different countries.
Yeah, so my job is actually to be business manager for Asia Pacific, meaning I'm responsible for countries like China, like Malaysia, like all the Asian Pacific countries, luckily including New Zealand. Yeah, so we are active in 75 countries. Yeah.
Amazing. Aglucon, what's involved with that?
Actually, we are a company which is existing since the 1930s. Have always been dealing with fertilizers. In the early days, we have been dealing with chemicals, agricultural input chemicals, and then later on focused on foliar fertilization. So we have our main brand, which is Wuxal, and which is a well-known brand with a lot of good reputation worldwide for foliar fertilization.
Foliar nutrients, that's what you're very famous for?
Yeah, that's correct. So we have our Wuxal formulation technology, which is including very specific formulation technology, which also includes our raw material quality checks, which is quite important because we are active in the premium segment. And what is most important actually when we develop new products, we're not just adding some NPKs and diluted with water. We make sure we have the full additive set, which gives a couple of benefits to the farmer. Adjusting of the pH of the spray solution, chelation agents, these are all very technical things that are very important on the farmer's level.
So there's no waste, I would assume, because if you fertilize with a traditional superphosphate or whatever, there is a lot.
Yeah, so the comparison between the solid fertilization of the soil fertilization and the foliar fertilization is that the foliar fertilization is much more efficient. So you can target the growing organs of the plant, which you want to have the nutrients. So they go directly to the leaves and not first to the soil and then have to be taken up by the roots. And that can also be very favorable under bad conditions, so when the root uptake is inhibited.
How often would you apply it?
It's depending from crop to crop. So we have fertilizer patterns for most agricultural crops used worldwide, be it wheat, be it apple or whatever. So usually the applications would be 3 to 5 times, depending on the demand and on the need of the plant.
Now the other name that comes under your umbrella is Horticentre. Where does that fit in?
Yeah, so with Horticentre we have a quite good collaboration since actually 1997, so almost 20 years. We're having an anniversary in 2 years, looking forward to that. Horticentre is a very reliable customer which is targeting a different kind of areas here in New Zealand, which is very special. So for example, the pasture, the small seed areas, this is very special for New Zealand, and really happy about that Horticentre is tackling these areas so good.
Because you've got a range of products for horticulture. I mean, you're looking at apples and you're looking at strawberries.
Yes, and that's right.
So you are right across the board?
Yeah, so all in all we have more than 170 different formulations, and actually Horticentre here in New Zealand is the customer with the second largest portfolio besides our sister company in Germany on the home market. So I think that's the main reason is because the agriculture here in New Zealand is very, very specific and very sophisticated. So you need to have very specific solutions for the specific problems.
So how do people get hold of your products? Because obviously there's a huge need.
You mean in terms of...
I mean, where do you buy it from?
So usually at the retailer stores you can buy it, or yeah.
And there's obviously pretty good advice on how to use it and when to use it.
Yeah, sure. So it's not only the product that we sell, it's also the know-how, and we implement our know-how, the technical advisory stuff through Horticentre, of course, here in New Zealand, because in countries like New Zealand and also other very advanced agricultural countries, it is important that also the technical know-how is being transmitted. So it's not only to sell the product and then the farmer has 5 liters of the product and doesn't know what to do. So you need to tell them when to do, what you can achieve with, and what are the limitations and the goals.
That's what I was wanting to know about, that technical backup. Now, we've got a drought, and it's going to get very serious, and it's going to be very long. And we've just been talking about the fact that plants don't get the uptake from the ground So that's a huge window for Wuxal and your products.
Yeah, that's correct. So especially under unfavorable situations, when you have a drought, when you have a peak demand of nutrients, especially of micronutrients by every kind of crop, so be it wheat, be it apple, whatever, then it is very, very efficient tool to use the foliar fertilization, and especially efficient tools like Wuxal, because you don't need any moisture in the soil. You can overcome this barrier, or this problem actually, and supply nutrients via the leaf. So be sure that the plant can get the nutrients which they need in this peak demand time.
Because that's really is a major problem, isn't it? I mean, people who have got irrigation are okay, but I mean, you probably don't know, excuse me, you're probably not up with it yet, but there's going to be water rationing in many, many areas. So even irrigation is not going to be able to be applied. So once again, you can get those nutrients to your plants.
Yeah, that's correct. So in the aqueous phase, you can get the nutrients to the leaf, and they can immediately be taken up. So you don't need any special additional irrigation or something like that. So it's actually quite efficient, yeah.
I know that Dennis Carter, who comes onto this program very regularly, swears by your stuff. He uses it because he's doing things like radish and cabbage and all those sorts of things. So, excuse me, once again, it comes back to looking at the crop, looking at the special formula for that crop and just applying it.
Yeah. So when we develop new products, we always want to make sure that we fulfill very specific demands. And that is mainly also the reason why we have like 170 different formulations. So we offer tailor-made products. We sit together with our customers, develop the new products, and how we can, when the customer has a special aim, he wants to increase the starch content or the oil content.
Oh, you get that specific?
Yeah, sure.
So somebody who's growing strawberries, for example, can do a test to see what it needs.
Yeah, so if you want to increase the Brix decrease, we can use some potassium, one of our potassium products. We have a lot of them. If they want to increase whatever content, we will see how we can adjust it. I mean, all is limited by the plant nutrition. It has its limitations, but we try as best as we can to fulfill these demands then, yeah.
And it must be very efficient, because I'm thinking about some of the hard fertilizers which you were talking about, and they go into the ground and the ground locks it up, whereas this is straight on.
If you have bad situations in the soil, like wrong pH or wrong moisture level, then you can put as much as solid fertilizers to the soil as you like. They cannot be taken up. So, and also if you have a look at corn, for example, corn is a very bad root development at the beginning stages, growing stages, and if it cannot access the roots, cannot access the phosphorus deposits in the soil, then you can put as much as you like to the soil. So this, again, here the foliar fertilization becomes very efficient.